Hey guys, welcome back here to Advanced Bass Fishing, and appreciate you guys swinging by the channel today to check the video out. And guys, today we're going to be talking about big plastic worms. These worms that are over 9 or 10 inches long. We are in big worm season right now. For me, it officially starts like the 1st of June. And I'm going to give you guys some good tips and advice on how to catch fish on them, the situations they work in, what you need to look for. It's a great way to catch good fish. You can catch numbers too, but something about a big worm, they love it in the summertime of the year, so we'll dig into that in the video today. And guys, the worms we're going to be talking about today are the Zoom Old Monster Magnum and the Old Monster. I'll put these in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of the video if you guys would like to pick up a few bags. These are the best big worms I have ever used. They got the big ribbon tail on them. They're just attention to detail, second to none. Definitely catches a lot of fish there. Also, guys, thank you very much for everybody's taking time to subscribe here to Advanced Bass Fishing. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate you guys liking the videos and hitting the hype button for the videos. Just want to give you guys a big thank you for that. Okay, one of the things about a big worm, people have been using them for years now. This is nothing new. People have been using big worms since the 1970s. I remember looking in my dad's tackle box when I was a little kid, and he had these big old giant plastic worms that were about probably 12 inches long, and I swear they were big around as my thumb or my finger. They were huge, and they had like the exposed hooks on them. So people have been fishing big worms forever, and a couple different reasons that bass will eat a snake. I mean, you take a 4 or 5 pound bass, guys, it'll think nothing about eating a 2 foot long snake. It'll do it in a second. So it resembles something that looks alive to them, and especially during the summertime when a lot of the snakes are out. And I think that's what it is. I think it resembles a snake a lot to them, and they eat. So let's talk about the situations it works in and how I like to fish them. The biggest, or one of the top 3 bags of fish I ever caught in my life, I set a record at Truman Lake about 30 years ago in a Central Pro-Am tournament. For that circuit, it was 25-7, I think, at the time I had. Caught him on a big worm in that tournament at Truman Lake, a big 12-inch worm. And ever since that, I have been a firm believer in them. And I've used them even before that. So here's the conditions they work in. Pretty diverse set of situations. First of all, water temperature is key on these big worms. I'm not saying that you can't catch them in a little bit cooler water, but I want to have water temperatures pushing 80 degrees. Specifically, very minimum of mid-70s. I like them. I like the water temperatures to be in the 80s for these big worms to work really good. Whatever it is, when it gets hot, they just like to bite them. I Texas rig them all the time. One of the things about a big worm is, it'll help you out with it, is you want to use about the lightest slip sinker that you can. So I use a 3/16 ounce on both of these a lot. A 3/16 ounce sinker on these big worms, it's got a nice slow fall, but it's still fast enough you can control it. If I'm fishing deep with them and say the wind's blowing and I'm fishing 20 foot deep, yeah, I may go up to even a 5/16 at times. But when I'm fishing, for the most part, I want to use about a 3/16 ounce sinker. You'll get a lot more bites with it. If you try to fish this thing like on a 1/2 ounce sinker, you won't get near as many bites. And I usually rig it with a straight shank Gamakatsu, a G Finesse worm hook. I'll put that link in my Tackle Warehouse link too. You guys get some hooks for that. 4/0's about the perfect size for it in that Gamakatsu hook. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about colors, and let's talk a little bit about, when you want to fish it, what the conditions are with that. Now, colors are pretty much like anything else. It has to do with your water clarity. If I'm fishing water visibilities that are, over 3.5 foot or something like that, I'm usually using more of a natural color like a green pumpkin or watermelon, something in those lines. But for me, it's like I catch more fish on a big worm if the water's got a little color to it. So I very seldom use those natural colors on a big worm. Most of the time on my big worm fishing, I'm using a June bug, a red bug, maybe like a red shad, even a black worm, some type of a dark worm, because I like fishing those big worms, specifically if the water visibility is about 1 to 2.5 foot. That's the zone that I like it at. 80-some degree water temperature, water visibility about 2 foot, perfect for a big worm. 1.5 foot or 2 foot like that. Okay, there's 2 different situations in the summertime that a big worm will work. The first one is, and a lot of people don't do this, a big worm is an excellent bait to fish shallow. As far as pitching and flipping it around shallow cover, works awesome. It doesn't matter what you're fishing. lily pads, grass beds, lay down trees, boat docks, bare banks, whatever. A big worm will catch them shallow. And a lot of times it'll catch them better than the jig or creature bait. I've caught a lot of good fish, like flipping willow trees with a big worm. That used to be sort of a secret deal down at Grand Lake before all the developers turned or tore out all the willow trees on the lake. But that big worm works really, really good shallow. Well, it'll work in all different depths, but catch them shallow on it. And the next one is that mid-depth range. So there's two different scenarios. The first scenario is I'm just pitching and flipping it around shallow targets. Again, 3/16-ounce sinker, usually 20, 25-pound test, Seaguar and Vizex fluorocarbon with my flipping stick. The other situation is fishing hard structure with it. Well, there's actually three we'll talk about, but the second situation is your hard structure situation. Now, this is going to be like fishing out off the end of points. If you got rock piles or brush piles on the end of a point, could be just a bare point. Any type of a drop-off on the point. Those fish, big worms work great on drop-offs. Ledges, creek channel intersections, any type of what I call a hard structure drop. Now, hard structure is something that is a sort of an unchangeable feature on a lake. It's like a rock ledge, a drop-off. It's not anything that's transient, something that's there all the time. These are great structures for bass in the summertime of the year. And again, that big worm fished over that structure is a really good way to catch them, especially if you got some brush on there. And the third way to catch them is swimming that big worm. I actually won that Truman tournament and caught the big bag on that big worm by swimming it through the standing timber. But a big worm is a great lure to swim, just like you'd throw a swim jig. Put like an 1/8-ounce sinker on it, some type of a really light sinker, and just fish it in whatever depth that you think the fish are going to be at. I like to fish it around, shallow grass beds, swim it around lily pads, swim it around any type of wood timber. It works really good to swim a big worm if you have really dirty water. So I like to have water visibility about 1 foot when I swim that big worm, and I'll just pitch it and cast it around, like I would a spinnerbait or crankbait around some type of target. And a lot of times in the summertime of the year, they want that big worm swum more than they want it on the bottom. And I throw a flipping stick on it all the time, guys. I don't care if I'm fishing deep with it. I don't care if I'm fishing shallow or mid-depth or swimming it. I'm always fishing that big worm on a flipping stick because you got better control of it. You got better power, all that type of stuff. But main thing is just, it's all about water temperature to me. It's like I throw a big worm primarily in June, July, and some in August. But June and July are going to be your two best months to fish a big worm. And we talk a lot about on the channel here about how every single month the bass are in a different stage and they like a different type of a soft plastic or they like a different type of a lure profile. If you followed my channel very long, guys, every month we talk about something different because, again, that mood and the personality of what the bass want change. And a big worm may not work that great in April and May. It may not work that great like in August and September. But for whatever reason, I get reproducible results, and I have for close to 40 years now, fishing it in June and July. So, guys, give it a try. You can get all set up with, I'll put all those links in my Tackle Warehouse link if you'd like to get set up with everything, and hope it helps you guys catch some good fish. We'll talk later.